Dear students, we will continue our lecture with the chapter number 4, the design basics. And if you remember, last time we discussed the process of design. So here we will continue with that one. So if you remember, we have 4 or 5 different stages of the design process. So we start with the requirements. We gather or collect the different requirements, and then we move to the analysis phase where we try to look at those requirements, which one are important and which one are not important. Because remember, when collecting information, you collect every type of information. So we will see these things in detail coming next. So we move to the requirements phase. So in the requirements, we mostly focus on some techniques like interviews, and we try to see what is already over there and what we want to do. So I gave you this example so these are the different phases. We will come back to this slide many times when we go through this different steps. So one of the examples that I will give you during this discussion will be of the Oman Air website, and the second example will be of the SIS. So in the requirements, it is the first stage in establishing what is needed, what you want exactly from your design. So remember, design is like in the software engineering, you want to make something, you want to make some interface, you want to know what is required. And usually it is very important to find out what is currently happening. So in the case of SIS, when the SIS or online system was not there, how the faculty was taking attendance and how the faculty used to store the marks and how the students used to see their marks or other details. So for this purpose, what happens is that normally uh, one important tool that is very useful to gather requirements is the interviewing. So we go to the people, we ask them, we interview them. So for example, if there is a good software developer who comes to the university and wants to make the SIS, in the beginning they know nothing from where to start. So in that case, they start by interviewing the people. So we gather information, we gather the requirements by interviewing, and normally we can videotape or record these conversations to use them later on. And one other source of information is to look by looking at the old documents, how the things were happening before. So before the SIS came, what was happening, how the systems were working before that, and how the objects they were used before, and how the faculty used to take the attendance or save the student marks, how the ARD they used to keep record of the students data, their fee and all those things. So they look at the old documents, and also they can observe them directly. They come, for example, to the university, they look at they come to the classrooms, they talk to the students and faculty, and they work like this. So observation directly is also an important tool for requirement gathering. Then there are two more tools that we discuss over here in more detail. They are called persona and the cultural probes. So here we will discuss them in more details. So analysis and the design, we will discuss them later on when we discuss them in detail, we will come back. So the requirements, when we want to gather requirement about the system, that what is required for making a system design or making a good interface of the system, we can gather requirements by 3 means. You try to know about your user, that will help you to know the interface. you have the persona and the cultural probe. So to know the user, what does it mean? The system or design developer, the more that person knows about the users, the more he knows about the students and the faculty, the more he will be comfortable in making the design. There can be many different things about the students that he can know. For example, the students 90% in this university are female, and then what is the age group of those students, their education before coming to university, what was their education, what is their discipline, which field of education they are having over here. So all these things matter. Similarly, that person can know more about the faculty, what type of people are there, what's their background, what is their gender, all these things. Most probably these users, they are not like the developer. Why? Because developer is some person who knows a lot about computers, who knows a lot about designs. So maybe something that he thinks the design is easy to understand, maybe it's not so easy to understand for the other people. Not all the people are very good or very friendly with the environment, with the computers. The designer or developer can also know the users by talking to them directly. So this is, you can say, the interview, or he can go and watch them, observe them. And he can also use the imagination. Imagination means thinking. So all the people, they have studied at some stage in their life in schools, colleges, then in universities. So he can imagine how the students look like, how the faculty or the professor look like. So he can use that imagination to know about the users more. But this imagination or thinking, it can be wrong. So maybe he's thinking about the university that students are both male and female, but this university again, this has more female students. So he can have a different perception about the faculty, about the teaching staff, but practically it can be different. So second technique that he can use is to look at the documents called persona. So first, to know or understand what is persona, I will give an example. Persona is a type of document. It's used by a big company, by big companies. So all those multinational companies, like for example, Pepsi and Coca-Cola. So these are big companies that have hundreds or thousands of employees. So all those good companies, the companies that care about their staff, employees, they try to keep their staff or workers happy. They don't want that they lose their staff, because remember, outside in the public there are many companies who compete with each other, and companies also try to hire people from the opposite company by maybe giving them more salary. So if a staff or a person or a worker leaves a company, he will leave with all the experience that he has, and the company will also lose the money that the company spent on training of that person, because all the companies, they normally give their staff some sort of special training, maybe 1 or 2 month course, which can help those people to gain some special knowledge of the field of the area. So if a person or employee leaves the company, all that money is wasted by that company. So good companies, they try to keep their staff happy, and they try to keep their staff, they try to know what can make their staff not comfortable. So for that purpose, let us suppose there is a company, it has got 5,000 workers. Okay, out of those 5,000 workers, or maybe you can say, or yes, so 5,000 workers, out of those 5,000 workers, 1,000 are female workers and 4,000 are male workers. Now that company, uh, if they want to create a new rule, for example, the working hours of that company are from 8 in the morning until 4 p.m. in the evening. Now let us say the company wants, for some reason, they want to increase the working hour of the people from 4 o'clock to, they want to make it until 6 p.m. and they want that they will pay more money to their employees. They should stay here and work for more time. Okay. So maybe the thinking is that the workers, they would like to have more money and they will earn more money and they will work for the company more time, and this will give the company more maybe advantage. Now what is the problem? Maybe all the workers, they don't like this decision, they don't want to work more. Maybe especially the female staff, they want to give time to their family more. There are other people maybe who want to give more time to their family, they don't want to get extra money. So in that case, when the company tries to force a decision to increase the working hours, maybe this decision will make the workers unhappy. And if these decisions are uh, this decisions there are more such decisions coming like this, at some point many of the workers, they would think to leave the company and join some other company that is more suitable, that they feel more comfortable. Clear? So pause it here, think over it, what does it mean? So now a good company, we are talking about good companies. So a good company that cares about its staff or workers, when they want to implement some decision, what they do is they try to get an idea about the workers, how they will feel. Now a company cannot observe 5,000 people at the same time. It's not possible to observe 5,000 people. So for example, company, it wants to increase the working hours, it cannot go and interview 5,000 people, all of them. Not possible. Secondly, companies, they always make decision all the time. Every day they have to make decisions. Every time they cannot go to the staff and ask them, is it good or bad? So what to do? For that purpose, what companies do is, for 5,000 people, for example, they create five, just as an example, they create five fake description of people on a page, on a document, just like a CV. They create five CVs which represent 5,000 people, and they keep it with them, and those five CVs, we call them persona. So five personas, they represent 5,000 people, and so if in 5,000 people 1,000 are female and 4,000 are male, so in the personas, one will be persona of a female and four will be the persona of male. Similarly, there will be other characteristics. Most of those characteristics should match. For example, out of 5,000, 2,000 people, they use eyesight glasses, eyeglasses. So in the persona also, there should be, out of 5, 2 personas should have the characteristic that they wear glasses. Similarly, there can be many such properties. For example, out of 5,000, 3,000 people are very good in computers. They have done a computer course. 2,000, they don't know computer. So in the persona also, 3 personas should be expert in computers. 2 should know nothing about computers. So this is an example. What is persona? So persona is basically a description. So come back to the slides. Persona is basically description of an example user. And not necessarily it is a real person. It's not must that it is a real person, else I would say most of the time it is not real person. Okay, most of the time it is just a thinking, an imaginary person. So because persona should represent a large group of people. Okay, not one person but a large group of people, the properties that are common between the whole group of people. And it is used as a surrogate user. Surrogate means remote controlled, because remember, CV, for example, when someone makes a CV is linked to a person. A person, he do some new course or new degree, his CV changes. Okay, whereas the persona, it is controlled by the boss, it's not a real person. So the boss himself keeps the record of 5 persona, and he can add or remove details in the persona. So boss is controlling the user, the persona user. That's why we call it surrogate, remote controlled. And it is not only for the characteristics or the properties, it is also about the thinking. So for example, boss thinks to increase the working hours in the factory or in the company, then he will then think from the 5 personas. From the side of 5 personas, he will take their documents and he will start thinking how this person will feel about this decision. Is it good or bad? So if most of the people they like this decision, then the company will implement this decision. If most of the people they don't like this decision, then company will not go for that decision. A good company will not do that. So the boss is the one who will be using that persona, and he will be also acting on their behalf, like what that person will be thinking and what they will say. And in the persona, the important thing is that the details, they matter. Details are very, very important. Details make the things real. Clear? So here is an example they have given about a persona. Remember the example given over here, it is given as a paragraph, but for our case we will be using what we say as points. So bullets and points. So you will have one assignment for this topic. So you will make the persona as points. Okay. So here the persona given is about some lady named Betty. She is 37 years old and she has been working as a warehouse manager for 5 years. So warehouse is the store. So she manages the store. She is the manager of the store since 5 years in this company. And overall she is working. So this is the first property, second property, and now the third one is she is working for the company named Simpkins Brothers Engineering for 12 years. Now she is a experienced old worker. For 12 years she is working in this company, and for the last 5 years she is working as a manager. Before that maybe she has some lower level. She didn't go to the university. So remember, this is the difference between persona and CV. CV normally contains only positive points. No one in the CV talks bad about himself. Whereas in the persona, because it's controlled by the boss, boss will write good and bad things both about that persona. So here she didn't go to the university, but has studied in her evenings for a business diploma. So she was working in the company in the daytime, and in the evening she took classes for business diploma. She has, so remember in the persona you will write details, every type of detail, technical ones and even non-technical which are not related to the job. So here for example she has 2 children aged 15 and 7, And so that's important. Why we write about children or her husband or anything like that? Because she don't like to work late. So now if the company makes a decision that working hours should be increased from 4 until 6 p.m. in the evening, it's not good for this persona. Then the boss will think about the decision from Betty's thinking point, and Betty will not like it. Next, she did part of an introductory in-house computer course some years ago. So in-house means done inside the company. So companies, they normally offer some courses or training to their employees. So company offered a course on computers, and she did it but not completely, part of it. Okay. So she did the course some years ago, but it was interrupted. She could not complete the course. Why? When she was prompted, she was promoted. Promoted means to get to go to the next level in the job, higher level. So she was promoted and could no longer afford to take the time. So she became the manager, and she don't have time, and she could not go and complete the course. So this was one important point, the negative point. She does not have the computer course or computer skills. Now some physical properties. Her vision eyesight is perfect, but her right hand's movement, so her hand movement is slightly restricted. She can't move it properly. Why? Following an industrial accident 3 years ago. 3 years ago, she was working here in the company and she got some accident. And because of that accident, she can't move her hand properly. She is enthusiastic. Enthusiastic means energetic about her work and is happy to delegate responsibility. So she is very energetic about her work. Now, this is a positive property. There are many people who are very lazy. They don't like to work, for example. So persona should describe these properties about the people. Some person who is lazy, even if you motivate them, they will not like to work. Okay. So and another property given about her is that she is happy to delegate a responsibility. So delegate responsibility, what does it means? That she is happy to give the control and power to her to the workers who are working under her. To her subordinates, she likes to give power or control. What does it mean? So I will give you an example. A long time ago, one of my friends told this thing to me. There was one vice chancellor in a university in Pakistan that was on the highest level. He was the vice chancellor of the university, but he did not like, for example, he wanted, there are people with different nature, so he wanted to control everything. Okay. And for that purpose, he wanted to control everything. So for that purpose, when there were interviews, he was even controlling the interviews. He was managing the interviews for a cleaner or a gardener or for anything that was not so technical for his level. So he was not willing to give power or authority to someone else, for example, some dean or some other person, that you can carry on with this interview, it's not important. So what's the problem? Such an approach, he put all his energy on controlling the power, and he don't have that much time. So definitely he will not have enough time for some of the important matters that he has to tackle. So that is the issue. So to not to give power to others, it is a very negative property. So for the case of Betty here, she is happy to delegate. Delegate means to give power or to give. So she is happy to delegate or to give responsibility to others, and also she is happy to take suggestions from others, from her staff. So working in the team, it's very important that the boss of the team, he or she takes a suggestion or advice from others and then work together as a team with others. Clear? Now one last thing is that she does feel threatened. She feels threatened about what? Threatened means afraid or scared by the introduction of yet another new computer system. So the third in her time at SBE. So in this company, Simpkins Brother Engineering, there is third computer system that has been installed, and because she don't have the computer knowledge, she did not complete the computer course, she feels afraid for the new computer system. Clear? So that is her negative point. She feels bad. And it is also important for company that such type of people that are represented by Betty, when computer systems are changed very frequently, more and more computer systems are changed in the company, then what will happen? Such type of people, they will start looking for job in another company. Clear? So take your time, pause video, think over it, ask question. So next one is the cultural probe. We will go through it a little bit later. Now I will try to make shorter videos because one of my videos I recorded and it was not properly saved and I lost. So now I try to make smaller videos. And for this persona, there is a small assignment for you people that you have to submit till next week Thursday on 2nd April. So the persona that you have to represent over here, it is about a person who is working in the oil industry. Okay, so a person who is working in the oil industry, you have to write a persona about that person. You will think like some real persona that is kept there, and the persona should be at least 2 pages. Okay, it should be 2 pages and it should contain as much details as possible. It should look like some real person in the oil industry is doing a job. He can be any type of person. He is maybe the executive or engineer, or he can be a lower level staff, anyone. Okay, you have to submit next week this thing, 2 pages, and persona should be written in points, not as a paragraph. Okay, so see you till that point then. So we have seen till now the two methods for requirements gathering. So if you go back to know more about your user, that will give you information about overall requirements. Then was the persona, and the last one is now cultural probe. So what is cultural probe? Many times, if you remember, if you go back in the know your user, you see over here there is an option given, this one, that you try to talk to your users. So if the user is the system is the SIS system, for SIS system your users will be students and the faculty. So you try to talk to them or you watch them, but many times it is not possible that a person or a designer can talk to the people directly. Direct observation becomes very hard. There are many reasons. So for example, direct observation is hard for the cases when users, they are inside the home. For example, some company wants to make a software for some mobile phone application for cooking, and they want to talk to the people at home, for the ladies at home, but it is not easy It's not easy to access them, to talk to them. Another important case of the observation which is not possible is about the patients. The patients, they go to the hospital, talk to the doctors, but both the patients and doctors, they don't like to talk about their problems, about the problems they discuss to anyone else. So patient will not give the information to you as a designer, and also doctor will not share this information, and they will not allow you to observe them sitting over there in the hospital. So in such cases, when the direct observation is not possible, then we can use something called as cultural probe. Now cultural probe is based on something called as probe pack. Probe means the word probe means sort of searching. So probe pack means it's a pack. So it's basically a bag you see over here on the right side. So it's a plastic bag which contains some devices that can help to search some answers. So these devices include maybe a small sticky paper notebook, or a pencil, pen, eraser, then some advanced electronic devices like a small camera or a small audio recording device. So all these things, they are put inside a plastic bag, and that bag is called probe pack. These items, they help to prompt the responses. Prompt means to save or to record the responses. So uh, what they can do is that they are given to the people that are part of the system. So this is the most difficult step, to make people agree that they will help the designer. So for example, to make a patient agree that he will help the designer to record the information. So this bag is given to the people to open in their own environment, the working place. So in the case of SIS, it is given to the students and asked them to open it in the classroom or in the university environment. Or for the patient, it is given to them to open it during or after they discuss or consult with the doctor. So it is not easy to make people agree to do such thing, but always there are some methods that can help. For example, if the designer puts some reward or some money for the people who help, then maybe some people can come forward and they can help for this purpose. So people are given the instructions to record what is meaningful to them. Okay. Now this is an important thing, that the user, the student or the patient, they are not experts in design. Okay. They don't know maybe anything about designing. They don't know anything about computers. Possibly they don't know anything. So when you ask them to record something, maybe it happens that they will record useless information, or they will be recording the information that not in a correct manner. So there are chances of errors and mistakes, and the designer should focus over here to record as much information as it is possible. So these cultural probes, so this method based on probe pack, it is used to get ideas about from the interviews, to get newer ideas about the system, how the system works, and also it is used to enculture the designers. Enculture means to make the designer familiar with the culture that is existing over there. So every organization, every place has a specific culture. For example, in the university, there is a specific timing for the students. They go to a class and they attend the lecture over there. So there is a culture for this thing. Similarly, for hospital, there is a separate culture, working environment. There is separate procedures over there. So these probe packs and cultural probe overall, it can help the designer to understand what that culture is. Clear? So I think this is enough for this lecture. From the next lecture, then we will go to the next phase, which is the analysis. Okay, see you then.